College of Physician. He had been president of APLAR 2000 to 2012. He was president Indian Rheumatological Association from 2019 2011 and recipient of Netaji Oration, Sarle Oration by API, RA Oration, Basant Devi Amir Chand Prize, Aman Sen Oration by ICMR, Pawan K. Jain Oration, GB Jain Oration. He has 335 papers to his credit, abstracts, book chapters, and so many publications and scientific papers. He was formerly professor of medicine, All India Institute of Medical Science. He is a very close friend of mine, but and he has been a great. He is a great orator and being invited almost all places in the country and outside the country, and he is a good human being. So I request Dr. Roni Handa to kindly start his oration.
Dr. K.K. Parekh, past president of the API, Dr. Y.P. Munjal, past president of the API, Dr. Kamlesh Tiwari, president of the API, senior colleagues, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I have been assigned the task of delivering the Netaji oration today. This oration has a venerable history. This is the oldest oration of the API, instituted way back in 1960. This is the year when I was born, and it pays homage to the fiery nationalist Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. This oration has been delivered by many stalwarts in the past, and I am humbled and honored by the privilege accorded to me by the Association of Physicians of India. The subject matter that I have chosen for my oration is Internal Medicine Today. Quo Vadis, where are you headed? Internal medicine today is facing an identity crisis. This is the status of internal medicine 3 to 4 decades ago, when as a specialty it was at its zenith. And if I have to choose a term from astronomy, this was at its apogee. Unfortunately, this is no longer the situation today. If you look at our specialty today, there is a perceptible decline in status, and this is driven by technological advances and ascendancy of interventions, which has led to a decrease in the academic status of internal medicine and also decrease in the income levels. Now, internal medicine is the lodestar or the mother specialty of all these subspecialties. You have hepatology, pulmonology, you have gastroenterology, and so also rheumatology and others. Over the years, as a career choice, this is facing a decline. And this is data from the United States, and we are no different. The vast majority of the young graduates who enter internal medicine finally end up by entering a subspecialty, and there seems to be no end to this attrition. To compound matters, we now have several subspecialties, and this is an example from cardiology, where you have interventional cardiology, cardiac electrophysiology, heart failure and transplant cardiology, and so on and so forth. The paradox today, unfortunately, is that we have doctors who are over-specialized, yet under-trained. And the comment of Dennis Waitley is so important and relevant today. Never become so much of an expert that you stop gaining expertise. Now, let me do a SWOT analysis for my specialty, internal medicine. And I would first highlight the strengths of internal medicine. This is patient-centered, not organ-centric, provides integrated care. Weaknesses are that the graduates of today, the doctor of today finds it to be less glamorous because it is not procedure oriented. So it translates into less income levels. The opportunities are huge. The internist is conversant with the breadth of a large number of disorders, and he knows more and more about more and more. Unlike a subspecialist who knows more and more about less and less, the internist has depth in common diseases, and this translates into enhanced patient satisfaction. The threats are, as a career choice, it has few takers amongst the doctors of today. So you need to strike a balance between the breadth and the depth. On one hand, you have internal medicine, person-centered, whereas the subspecialties are fragmented and disease-centered. Now, let me exemplify this. The subspecialties are often unable to connect the dots in a multi-system disorder. These are patients who land up with the ophthalmologist, are told they have dry eyes. The dentist tells them they have bad caries, and then they land up with the endocrinologist with parotid swelling, to the dermatologist with purpura, to the nephrologist with nephrocalcinosis, and the rheumatologist with Raynaud's phenomena. No prizes for guessing this. I'm talking about Sjogren's syndrome, commonly present, uncommonly diagnosed, and it is only the internist who is uniquely placed to connect the dots in a multi-system disorder. And the principles of Gestalt apply to internal medicine. This is much more than the sum of its subspecialties. Let me give you another example from day-to-day life, the prescribing cascade. This is a disease that all of you are familiar with, osteoarthritis, comorbidities, a word made fashionable by the corona epidemic. These are the usual comorbidities in osteoarthritis. The patient lands up with the orthopedic surgeon, gets an anti-inflammatory, blood pressure rises, antihypertensive is instituted, CHF, diuretics, hyperuricemia, and added to the treatment is ULT. Has nausea, metoclopramide, extrapyramidal symptoms, levodopa gets added, and the question arises, who should treat osteoarthritis? Humongous patient numbers, only a fraction ever require surgery. No orthopedic surgeon has the gumption, the depth and the breadth to handle these multi-morbidities where polypharmacy is the norm. The only person who fits the bill, the man for all seasons, for all reasons, the internist. So I am making a strong pitch for internal medicine to be the lodestar of multi-system disorders. Years ago, 15 years ago, I wrote this for the souvenir of Epicon Patna. Why attend Epicon? And where I enumerated my viewpoint that as a subspecialist, you stop learning about advances in the other specialities. It is only Epicon which gives you the opportunity to have cross-pollination, cross-fertilization, and it adds to your professional stature, it adds to your knowledge. So I don't think that there is any substitute, even in this era of subspecialization, of getting away from internal medicine. And to quote John Donne, no man, and I have put this in the parenthesis, this is my edition, no man, read subspecialty is an island, entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent. a part of the main. Now, how do we position internal medicine versus the subspecialties? The first thing is it is not them and us, it is we together. We need to harness the energy in this synergy. And taking an example from Europe, some people practice internal medicine alone, and this group is the best of both the worlds. You have a subspecialty interest and you have internal medicine, and a small fraction practice subspecialty alone. And I think for a country like ours, this is the way forward. How do we make internal medicine more attractive for the young doctors of today? To my mind, we should have a focused subspecialty exposure for 6 months, either during the MD training program or afterwards. We should have skill labs in all medical colleges, encourage development of skills. For example, joint aspiration, upper GI endoscopy, basic echocardiography. These can all be well eminently handled by the internist, and the internal medicine postgraduates, once they are exposed to this, they could expand their practice to include the management of these patients. So you have the best of both the worlds. I think it's also time to take some hard steps. There should be mandatory 2 to 3 years of internal medicine exposure before subspecialization. I mean, there are some surgical specialties where you go into MCH, from the word go, a 5-year program. But I think that, you need to have a good grounding in internal medicine before you are allowed to take up a subspecialty. Then some institutions like the PGI Chandigarh, where they have the subspecialties taking up an internal medicine rotation or a call day. This is one of the ideal steps. In teaching institutions, have the subspecialties come in 1 day of the week or 1 month of the year on an internal medicine rotation. And last but not the least, we should desist from the nomenclature of super specialization or super specialties. I think it's only in the third world countries that we have people who talk, replace subspecialties with super specialties. Friends, I would like to end my oration with this quotation from Hillel, perhaps the most famous Jewish scholar. If I am not for myself, who will be? And when I am only for myself, what am I? And if I juxtapose this in the context of internal medicine, I am an internist rheumatologist. My commitment is not necessarily singular, it is plural. And if I swear allegiance to rheumatology, it does not mean that I am forsaking my loyalty to internal medicine. If I am not for myself, who will be? And when I am only for myself, what am I? And if not now, when? And I would like to end by acknowledging my parents, my father who inculcated in me the love for teaching. He was a medical teacher. My mother who taught me the value of thrift and hard work. And these are the two institutions which shaped my career, my alma mater at Patiala and the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, New Delhi. I am proud to be a rheumatologist, but blessed to be an internist. For only a good internist can be a great subspecialist. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like to thank API for this privilege. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Dr. Handa, for a very excellent lecture. I must congratulate you. A very practical, and such lecture can only be delivered by like a man who has got a clinical vision and an approach which you have. So congratulations, Dr. Handa, for a very excellent lecture by a man who is a clinician par excellence. Thank you very much. And since it is an oration, there are no questions or answers will be invited. So thank you so much. And we come to an end of this great and a prestigious oration. Thank you. So nice of you, Dr. Handa. Thank you.